Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wichita Vice, episode 3, guys.
Cheers!
Yes. Chris, you kind of jumped.
I get jumpy.
All right. Well, let's do a quick introduction. To my right, I have
Mr. Chris Jolly, your boy.
Marquez Christopher Easton, the man of steel himself.
Surprise, it's Brent.
welcome.
Welcome, Brett.
Don Woodward.
Special guest.
Our special guest,
Very
Don.
special
Let's
guest.
elevate you. Thank you for coming. All right, you guys. Well, we're going to go over some brief things real quick, and we're going to start off with the new shows that are going on. So first off, Disney. Disney's got their own channel now. So, Chris, are you going to go ahead and download the app?
Yes, yeah. I'm going to have that really quick.
What shows are you interested
in? A couple days. I'm looking for Mandalorian. Big drop on that. Looking forward to the selection of movies. There's a lot of the older Disney flicks from my childhood that my kids haven't really got to see. You know, they have the old Disney Vault, and you don't get them at the right time. Sometimes you don't get them. So, yeah, super looking forward to the Disney Channel, Mandalorian especially.
Yeah, me too. I'm curious to see where they go with it. You know, this whole new take on the Star Wars genre. You know, we don't get to see it typically from the bounty hunter's perspective.
Yeah.
So now this will give us a little more perspective on what's going on in the Star Wars universe. I'm really excited. I think I may get the Disney app for.
Oh, man, I'm for sure getting it. The Mandalorian looks pretty awesome. I've got a 10-month-old that's starting to like cartoons and stuff like that. So being able to introduce him to some of the older Disney stuff that I liked when I was a kid is going to be super fantastic. So I'm excited.
How about you, Don?
I haven't gone all in on it yet. I'm a big Star Wars fan, but we have so many. There's so many of them, and I can't watch everything. But I'll probably wait and see what everybody says about the Mandalorian, because that's what everybody's talking about is the Mandalorian. Pretty much.
I'm sorry. Can I make one quick point, Carlos, on the
Go
Mandalorian?
ahead, Marquez. Go ahead.
I'm a fan of the Old Republic Star Wars era.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I liked about the Old Republic is how they portrayed the Mandalorians. Like, if you're the leader of the Mandalorians, you have to take a title, like Mandalore the Invincible, Mandalore the Powerful, you know, Mandalore the whatever. You have to have a subtitle with your name. And I was wondering, what would our names be if we took over the Mandalorians? What would your name be?
I can tell you, Carlos he's got a poofy. You can't see him. He's got poofy hair today. So Mandalorian the poofy hair, or something like that. Right? Sorry, Carlos.
Mandalore the Enlightened. That'd be a good title. I think Mandalore the Enlightened.
The Enlightened.
Okay.
You know,
all right. Well,
what about you, Carlos? What would
you
yours
know,
be?
On the
you
spot.
threw me off.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but it's just such a cool. It's just such a cool little narrative plot device that they worked in, and I think it's you know, when you see the ride, and I wonder if they touch on that in this new show. That's what I'm curious to see in this new show. I think that's a point of reference that would really help out. You know, it's just one of those things that I think is just really cool that we don't get to see in the movies.
All right. Well, before we're going to go more in depth on that. So, Brent, what shows are you looking forward to seeing
On Disney?
General.
Yes, Disney?
Oh, and Disney. I mean, like I said, all the kind of the old school, the Mandalorian, some of the old school cartoons. I'm a big sports guy too, so having that ESPN Plus kind of grouped in with that as well. There's a package you can get the ESPN Plus. So I'm a boring guy. So sitting at home and watching stuff is what I do when I'm not working. So I'm excited for it all, and I like a lot of the old Disney stuff. So I look forward to that.
That's a good deal. So, all right. So we got that out the way. So let's talk about a little bit of these shows that are out right now. Chris, do you have a particular show you are kind of watching right now?
I actually have Watchmen is the one that I'm chomping at the bit for them to release every next episode. That's been really, really good so far. So yeah, that's the HBO new release one. And one that I haven't started yet, but just hit, I think this week, was his Dark Materials on HBO, which looks like a good fantasy kind of sci-fi out there.
How about you, Marquez?
I just finished watching The Strain, and I was pretty happy with it. I was pretty pleased with it. Honestly, I hated to see that series end. You know, that was actually one of my favorite series. Now, I can honestly say that. It actually it was just a whole new take on the whole vampire genre. And it just, you know, not to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it, but I definitely recommend that for anybody if you're in the grotesque, in-your-face, monsters trying to consume you, because I'm a monster guy at heart.
So this is not no Twilight, right? Is this an upgrade version of Twilight?
No. It has nothing to do with Twilight. Don't get me started on Twilight.
Okay, for the audience, where can they locate that show, The Strain?
It's currently on Hulu, but it was originally released on FX.
Okay. And Brent?
I just finished the last episode of season 1 of Righteous Gemstones. That's also on HBO, and it's just a quick overview. It's about it's a comedy. It's kind of raunchy, so definitely don't watch it with your kids around. But it's got
sacrilegious.
Yeah, it's basically a take on televangelists and their family. It's got John Goodman is one of the main characters.
Legend.
One of the kids from Workaholics. I don't remember his real name.
Yeah.
And then
Adam Devine.
And then the guy that plays in a lot of he plays in Kenny Powers and Vice Principals. I can't remember his name, but he's in it, and it is freaking hilarious. I'm telling you.
Danny McBride. That's Danny McBride.
And then
He's
the other guy that's in Vice Principals with him, is in it as well, and they're so great together in anything they do. But he plays one of the cousins, I believe, on there. It's really such a great show. I want everybody to go out and watch it for sure.
And now, what shows are you watching?
I'm really digging right now Stumptown. Have you guys watched Stumptown on ABC?
Tell us about it.
Okay, so it's based on a comic book by Greg Rucka, I believe, and it's got is it Colby Smulders, the lady that played
I have seen ads for that. Yeah,
Shield in the Avengers movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. It's based in Portland, and she's trying to become like a private detective. Okay. And then my brother, or I haven't really read a lot of the comic books, but the show's really good. They put a lot of like 80s music into the score, you know. So like
wow! I like that.
That's fun.
But no, it's really good. It's got a lot of action. She's like a war veteran, like Iraq War, I think. So she has a little PTSD going on, and her best friend owns a bar, and so she's like kind of involved with the local police department. But it's a really good show. It's really cool.
Definitely gotta check
and
that
then
out.
I was gonna ask you guys, did you watch The Boys?
Oh yes,
Have you already talked about that?
Absolutely.
Not
necessarily. We actually didn't.
No, not at all.
I think we just.
I finished that show, and
you gotta watch it before
it was
we talk.
just phenomenal. But actually, I'm starting to collect the comic books itself. It's something I would not show the kids.
No.
Because
No.
kids. No.
I mean, it's definitely adult
So
content.
it's a parental advisor on that. But you guys, real quick. So I forgot about my shows. I want to do a quick shout out to my friend Carolita. She introduced me to Power. I got hooked on that show, Power. So I want to also thank my friend Leo. He was telling me a little bit more about it. So it's on Stars because I have Amazon Prime. It's a very intense show. I'm a little bit behind, so no spoiler alerts because I don't know. You guys are probably far ahead than I am, but it's a good show to watch. Also, anybody watch Shameless? That's on Showtime.
I watched the first couple episodes. I didn't have Showtime long enough to stick it out for the whole thing, but it was pretty good the first couple episodes I saw.
Yeah, it's a good show. Again, another show you can't watch with your kids, so you're gonna have to, send them to bed. But I think it's getting pretty close to wrapping up. I believe. I think a new season's coming out in a few weeks, maybe. Don't quote me on that. It's pretty soon, but it's a good show.
If you're into crime and that kind of drama, Ray Donovan is a real good show.
Oh, yeah.
They're about to, it's going to air, and this is their last season. So anyone that likes that kind of shows, it's on Showtime, Ray Donovan. All right, you guys. So we found out, Terminator, they decided, hey, we're going to make a movie. James Cameron got the rights back, but since he's focusing right now on Avatar, the sequel, because it's supposed to be into a trilogy or even more, if I'm not mistaken. He let Tim Miller. Do you guys know who director Tim Miller is?
Deadpool.
Yes. Exactly. So he gave him the keys, and since James Cameron still has a say going on, he gave the keys to Tim Miller. So let's talk a little bit about that. So let's start back for the audience that maybe don't know too much about Terminator or not. Marquez, I'm going to ask you real quick. When you watched the first two Terminators that were directed by James Cameron. What did you think about it firsthand?
I was blown away just by the sheer attention to detail in both those movies. I mean, when you think about that era, I think the first Terminator came out in 1984. Just the way Arnold Schwarzenegger behaved as a machine, the way he checked the structure, before he drove through the car through in the police station. If you notice, he's looking up at it. I mean, he's analyzing his environment. And I was blown away by just that movie really was ahead of its time. It really, I mean, that's why they're still making them. I mean, the premise was completely original. The special effects for that day were state of the art. I mean, you look at it now, you're like, oh, it's kind of campy. But when I first saw it, I was just blown away. And Robert Patrick as the T-1000, that gave me nightmares. I mean, I think the Terminator and the Matrix, those are two of my all-time favorite movie franchises.
Okay. How about you, Brent?
I've watched the first two movies. I'm not very versed on the Terminator, so you might throw that to Chris. Chris is probably our guy for the Terminator, I would say.
I'm actually not. T2 was my, that's pretty much where I saw T3, and I think I saw Salvation. But to me, the first two were the story kind of started falling apart. It felt like they were reaching, just trying for money grabs after that. But T2, I thought that was my favorite one of the Terminator series. I was a little young when the first one came out, and I didn't get to see it too much uncut. But then the second one hit right at the right time. I mean, I think the kid was right around the same age I was at the time, and so that was. I was living the dream in that. So,
I bet you don't.
Oh yeah, Terminator was awesome when it came out. The first one. Yeah. I mean, it was just like you said. I mean, it's like a total '80s sci-fi movie. It just it feels like the '80s and total original concept. And then the second one, obviously with the liquid metal T-1000 Terminator, just blew my mind.
That was
with the special effects.
That was something.
And then like everybody said, I mean, the third one, T3, I don't know. It seemed like a decent movie. It kind of. We were actually talking about this. I was actually talking about this with my brother earlier in the week, and he was saying that the third one, he actually thought that it kind of tied everything together. That movie kind of ended the franchise, kind of tied it, and then of course, like you guys said, we got to make money, so they keep coming out with them. And they didn't really do as well. But have you guys seen the new one? Has anybody seen the new one?
Oh, you have, Carlos?
I have.
What did you think? Was it?
Well, all right. So before we get into that,
okay.
I'm over here scrambling. Wait.
I didn't mean to
No, you're fine.
Let me tell you, and I'll break it down to the point here. So the first one, the concept, the script was beautifully put. Okay, so we got a the T-800 series. Mm-hmm. So he goes back in time, and he's trying to get rid of Sarah Connor because her son is going to be the future leader of resistance. And then T2, they go back in time. Well, John, if I'm not mistaken, the resistance, they're able to take one of the Terminators, reprogram it, go back in time to protect him as a young person.
An outdated T-800 to protect him from the T-1000.
Thank you, Chris. So then T3, okay.
Because time travel, you somehow outdate yourself.
So then, right.
That's weird.
So then in T3, so we see that, John Connor's kind of out of it. He meets his wife, soon to be wife, and they're about to be the team going forward, being the leaders of the resistance. And then after that, you got Salvation. And so pretty much the story goes, yes, it's become a little bit tedious. We get it now. And after James Cameron sold his rights out, like you said, it just became a sense of, okay, well, let's just keep driving on it, which I did like Terminator Salvation. It wasn't too bad, but I wasn't too impressed. So now that James Cameron was able to get the rights back of Terminator, there goes Dark Fate. Now we see is that, spoiler alerts here. So, if you don't want to hear what happened, hey, it's time to plug. Got to go and come back.
Fast forward a little bit.
Give us a review.
So I was appalled to see John Connor die at the beginning of the movie. I'm like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? I grew up looking at John Connor when he gave us the
He
famous
is
lines,
the
"Hasta la vista, baby," no problemo, and all those scenes. And he dies in this new movie at the beginning.
Wow.
So, from what resources say, and I want to give a shout out to Mr. H Reviews on YouTube. He said clearly, you just pretty much told all the Terminator fans out there, okay, this is the way we're going to do it now. You got to accept it. It's kind of like, okay, so this whole time just to see John Connor die, I mean, really? I mean, that just kind of...
But when you, okay, if I may, I'm sorry, Carlos, I don't mean to cut you off, but when you look at it from a narrative point of view, it's shocking. It's that shock factor. It's that, oh, well, then what happened? What do we do now? You know what I mean? It kind of throws everything that you thought you knew into disarray, and you're forced to kind of just, I don't know, fill that void with something. Now, does the movie do that? You don't have to tell me exactly what happened, but does it fill that void after he dies?
You have to accept it, kind of thing. Like, okay, I understand.
Does it move forward, or do they just
Well,
sit
it moves
there?
forward.
Sorry.
The plan is that they're going to see how this generates. But right now, it's not looking good because they
Okay.
bombed the box office. So, like I said, if you guys are going to start off looking at the Terminator movies itself, there's also a Terminator series, the Sarah Connor
Yeah.
Chronicles. So, if you really want to dive in, just spread it out, see what's going on, see how the first two movies played out, then watch the rest, and you'll kind of get the hint of what's going on. So let's go ahead and move on real quick.
Carlos, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did Don, you watch the movie?
Yeah.
Can we get John's take or Don's take real quick?
Yes.
Sorry, I mean,
Yeah,
our special guest here. I just wanted to make sure we got his.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because yes, John Connor dies at the very beginning of the movie, basically, and it didn't really hit me like it hit you, like it didn't upset me, but I don't know. I mean, maybe I saw it happen, and then but. I don't know.
I almost walked out of the movie theater, had to recalibrate my mind. Like, okay, did this really happen?
I blew right past John Connor dying, but it does. While you were talking, it does, because the thing with the Terminator movies, even the first two, and the third one, when they come back and they beat the bad guy, it resets the timeline. You know what I mean? In the future, and something else happens, and then they send someone back. And that's what they did when John Connor died. Didn't it reset the timeline?
It did.
Yeah.
And then it changed everything. I mean, so like you were saying, it is kind of a plot point to move it forward.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't want to sound callous or cold, but I mean, we've seen a lot of John Connor. You know what I mean? Like
Sarah
John Connor
Connor.
has been in everything. I'm not saying. I mean, I enjoyed the movie. It's a Terminator movie. I mean, it's action. The action is cool. The special effects are cool. The new Terminator's cool. There's a twist with the Terminator, or I guess it's not really a Terminator. The person that they send back to protect who they're protecting. There's a couple twists and turns in it. But I mean, if you like any of the Terminator movies, I mean, this one's good. I mean, I guess if you can get past the fact that John Connor dies.
Well, I was more,
Yeah.
there was some calamity in all this. Watching Linda Hamilton come back, I'm
Right.
like, wow.
Yeah.
That's one part. Okay, I will say, yes, you did a good job. Thank you for bringing her back. I mean, she was great. The acting was great. Arnold is still kind of a goof in this movie. But I'm like, hey, you know what? That's fine. I get it. Maybe the actress, for her role herself, she seemed a little too, whiny. She reminded me of Kylo Ren of Star Wars kind of thing. She's just whining. Why me? What do I do? It's kind of like, okay, get over it. In the future, you're going to be an important person in the human resistance. So,
But you're just off the street going to work one day, and then all of a sudden this Terminator busts in, tries to kill you at your factory office job. I mean, you're gonna.
Can I clock out first?
Can I clock out? I mean, look at her point of view. I mean, yeah, it would shock you if you went to work Monday morning and.
Now I'm gonna be paranoid now.
But yeah, it did kind of go on a little bit, but there towards the end, she kind of. I don't want to. She manned
Sucked it up.
She sucked it up,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was a good movie. It's worth seeing. You know what I mean? Like, especially if you're a Terminator fan. I mean, it really did feel more like back to the basics, like the first two.
And, we got to thank the legend also, Stan Winston, for helping James Cameron create the Terminator. That guy, I'm telling you, well, he also helped with Aliens, also helped with kind of the concept of the Predator. That was kind of neat, too. So he's got a lot of backstory to it. But, all right, well, let's switch it up a bit now. Let's talk about The Mandalorian real quick. So we already know it's coming out November 12th on Disney. So we were talking a little bit what he is, but let's go a little bit more in depth real quick. So I'm going to give this over to Chris. Chris, what are we looking forward to in that show?
Well, I've just been stuck on the Mandalorian name. I've been thinking about that for the last...
Your name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I still haven't quite gotten there yet. But
Mandalore the Wise.
I thought that was going there, but...
The Invincible.
I'm super excited about it. It looks like it's going to be a little bit more set. It's from what I could gather, the time period is between the end of 6 and beginning of 7.
Yeah, so pretty much according to the notes here, it takes place 5 years after the fall of the Empire and pretty much Return of the Jedi, and it's 25 years before The Force Awakens.
Because there's 30 years between those two. So,
Okay.
So yeah, I think I hope that, like Marquez was saying earlier, that I hope they bring in a lot of the the history of the Mandalorian, because there's such a unique culture, I think, in that community. There's a lot of mercenary, a lot of war. They're known. The race is known across the galaxy for a reason, and I'd like to know more of that reason. So. Yeah, I'm really looking. And Gina Carano, I believe, is in that, so I'm a big fan of her.
Oh, Carl Weathers.
Oh, nice.
Carl Weathers is in this show. Yes, and you know who's directing this whole series? I don't want to say the last name. The guy that was in Iron Man.
Oh, Favreau?
Yep. He's
Oh,
the director.
wow.
Yes,
This
sir.
ought to be
That's
great.
right,
So this is going to be a good show. Tell me a little bit on what do you think is going to happen in the new Mandalorian? What are you
looked into
thinking?
it much?
I have no idea. I have not read anything about it. I haven't heard anything about it. I've just heard a few of my friends are excited about it. So I mean, I'm learning a lot just listening to you guys, like about what it's about.
Wow.
You know, I kind of live in a entertainment news bubble where everything just bounces off of me most of the time. But I don't know. In the world, I go on a tangent. In the world that we live in, man, you're just bombarded by everything. Everything's ruined and spoiled before you see it.
Right.
So it's kind of nice to go into stuff with fresh eyes, I think. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But it is cool to hear, because like I said, I have no idea. And I heard Mandalorian, and I assumed it was about Boba Fett. So
Yeah, you're a little behind. He's
right,
gone.
I'm behind. But
He may be referenced or involved at some point in it. It doesn't say that he's not. I haven't done too much into it. I watched the trailer. I think I looked at who was going to be in it, saw that Chrono was going to be in there. So
What's that actress name that plays in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? She's in that. She's going to be in the show as well. She's the right hand man of
Ming
is it Michelle?
May.
No, I don't know, you guys. I apologize. I failed. But you guys look forward to it. It's Coulson's partner. But November 12th, show's gonna come on. So make sure you download that Disney app. Well, real quick, let's give a quick pause and give thanks to our following sponsors.
If you're in Wichita looking for a good meal made with traditional Mexican recipes, you should head over to Felipe's at 2211 North Woodlawn. Start off with some nachos and add chile con queso, freshly made guacamole. Enjoy delicious entrees ranging from classics like enchiladas, huevos rancheros, and flautas to their famous pancho villa and ceviche. Finish off with a sweet dessert of sopapillas, flan, cheesecake, or fried ice cream. So bring friends and family and meet the friendly staff and enjoy the evening at Felipe's, winner of the Best Mexican Food in 2019 by readers of the Wichita Eagle. Have you ever gotten a cheap haircut that looks like the best work a weed whacker could do? Let's fix that. Primetime Barbershop is a professional 5-star establishment with an eye for detail and quality. For your great haircut experience, head to their location at 727 West 13th Street North here in Wichita, Kansas. Just remember that Nelson, Ivan, and the rest of the skillful team are in high demand, so schedule an appointment at Primetime Barbershop at www.schedulecity.com.
We all have bad luck sometimes, but accidents don't have to be a disaster. Ernie Ruelas is exactly what you need. A dedicated and friendly State Farm agent. He's the best choice to help you manage the risk of everyday life and recover from the unexpected. Contact Ernie at 316-682-2300 or visit him at 11330 East Central Avenue in Wichita, Kansas. Let him put your financial worries to rest so you can realize your dreams.
All right, you guys. Well, hey, it is Hero and Villain of the Month, you guys. We're going to find out who won. All right, yes. Well, first up, representing D.C., we've got Superman, and we have Marquez in the house. It's a huge Superman fan. So, Marquez, tell me a little bit about Superman.
Oh, wow. I mean, where do you start? I mean,
summarize, please.
He was the original superhero. Created by Jerry Siegel and Joel Shuster in 1939. Yeah, and in the first 3 comics, first 3 years he didn't fly. And you think about how the character has changed over the past 75 years. I mean, it's. Where do I start? For me personally, one of the things I like most about the character is what he represents. Which is hope. And I think we take hope for granted, but when you think about it, it's difficult for love, compassion, creativity to flourish without the promise of a better life. So for me, that's what the character means to me, the hope aspect of him. Not to mention the scope of the power. I've always wish I had super strength, could fly, was nigh invulnerable, could shoot. They never made sense, but I wish I could shoot heat vision. Heat vision. For sure. But out of all the aspects of the character, I think what he represents is his strongest asset, in my opinion. That's just the hope. He gives us something to look forward to. That's why they call him, one of his nicknames is the Man of Tomorrow. And I want to make a quick point about kryptonite. This is what I wanted. Not a lot of people know this, but there's actually a lot of different colors of kryptonite. There's red, gold, silver, red, gold, purple, black, white, and orange.
As well as
the green. Yeah. So can I just say this? This is a strange kryptonite, but there's a gold kryptonite they say will remove his powers permanently. Ooh. And I'm wondering.
Well, I want you to still elaborate on that, but for our audience, let's just say they don't know too much about Superman. So you said kryptonite. So back at you, what is kryptonite?
When Krypton was destroyed, it's from the planet's core. And when Superman was sent to Earth in his pod by his father, some of the debris followed him with, the ion trail of the ship. It attracted it, and they fell to Earth with him, in low orbit. And they just started popping up around the planet. But kryptonite, it was actually introduced on a radio show, and it didn't appear in the comic book until like 5 or 6 years later. 1951 was when this deadly substance first appeared. And when you think about it, the thing about a superhero, without any drama, without any threat, there's no drama. And kryptonite was that plot mechanism that provided the drama, because how do we hurt him? And that was it at that time, and it was strange as a kid reading the comic book because I thought, okay, that's all you need is kryptonite. We knew it hurt him, but it didn't really explain how it hurt him. They didn't go into any scientific reasoning as to what it actually did to him on a cellular level. But I guess what it does, it causes his cells to decay. I mean, rapidly. Just rapid cell degradation is what it does.
Where does this kryptonite come from?
From Krypton.
From the core of the planet.
Yeah, when Krypton exploded, this was just part of it was a toxic substance within the planet's core.
All right, so for the audience to understand there, so pretty much, you guys, it's kryptonite comes from the planet Krypton. So we know the basics. Superman was the last individual from coming from there until
Yeah,
who survived out of that? Who survived out of it?
Well, it depends on which story. There's been so many different stories.
All right.
There's Earth 2 Superman. There's Superman from...
That's too much. That's too much.
Okay.
For the audience,
Okay.
let's just
The
for the
average-
movie. Let's do the movie.
Okay, the movie
perspective.
Superman. Yes, Superman was the only one that survived the destruction of Krypton. Okay, if we're going strictly from the movie's point of view, then yes, he is the last son of Krypton thus far. You know, they haven't introduced anyone yet. I mean, we got the show. We have a Supergirl. You know, so obviously she was survived, but she was from a Kryptonian colonist.
one of the other moons or planets.
Yeah. And one of my favorite Superman comics they say that Brainiac actually destroyed Krypton. He was an artificial intelligence that actually regulated the planet's.
One of the earlier versions of Brainiac.
Yeah, very, very early.
Yeah.
So on that, Brent, did you watch any of the Superman movies?
I did.
Which one did you watch?
The last one.
The
Justice League?
Justice League.
The one before that, excuse me.
Batman versus Superman?
Yes, Batman versus Superman was probably the last one I watched. Listen, for me, Superman was one of my favorites growing up. I didn't have a lot of money growing up, so
No, me neither.
Superman comic books, Spider-Man was my other one. Of course, we're not talking about him today, but
You missed it by a month. Just throwing it out
dang
there.
it.
If you want to follow that
Story of my life.
listen to it on our episode 2.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man was our hero of the month that month. But go ahead. Brent.
Yeah, but I mean, just who didn't want to be like Superman? He's strong. You know, he kind of could live a normal life with those glasses. You know, go to work, and then he got. I mean, Lois Lane. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that was.
You know,
Well, to our listeners, understand that Superman was raised in Kansas, our home state.
So
Yes,
that's one of my
it
favorite
was.
lines in
So go ahead, Chris.
the
What-
first Henry Cavill Superman is
Yeah.
the end of it where he says, "Well, we just want to make sure you're here for America." He said, "Sir, I'm from Kansas. I'm as American as they get."
That was a funny scene. That was Zack Snyder did a good job on point on that. But okay, what can you tell us a little bit about Superman? What villains did you like listening? I mean, not listening, but watching the movies or reading the comics book. What kind of villains interested you in Superman?
Well, to your point, Superman, you need a villain. You need for the drama. The problem with Superman is Superman had gotten so powerful in the comic books that there were no villains that could, he'd have, like, what's he going to do? Dunk a couple bank robbers' heads together,
Right.
Yeah.
And like you said early on in the third, I mean, that was the thing. He could leap taller than a building in a single bound, faster than a locomotive. When he first started out, I mean, if you read the 1930s, I don't know if you've ever read any of the early stuff. I mean, it's it's very different, and he's evolved over the years, like
quite a
with
bit.
the powers, like you said, and he's just gotten so powerful. And I mean, I've never really been a huge Superman fan. Like I've popped in and out of comics. I've seen all the movies, obviously.
Oh, yeah,
I was a
yeah.
kid when the first Superman came out. You believe that a man can fly.
Yeah.
That scene where Lois Lane falls out of the building and he flies up and grabs her.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's like, "I've got you," and she's like, "You've got me. Who's got you?" I love that scene. I mean, that's a great movie, and I was a kid when that movie came out.
Me too, and I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that the characters changed, because when you think about it, when he first came out in the 30s, that was new. It was new and
Oh, yeah.
exciting. I mean, okay, you open this book, oh man, this guy can lift a car.
Yeah.
Nowadays, Batgirl can lift a car. Right. So it's so they had to come up with new and exciting ways to keep the character interesting.
Yeah.
One of the best things that they did from a narrative point of view to draw interest was to kill him.
Yeah.
And that was just because it begs the question: what could kill Superman?
Right.
Okay, how to enter Doomsday.
Yeah.
Although the most popular time they did it was in the early '90s, but that wasn't the first time. I think since Superman's inception, he's died a total of I think 6 times.
Probably.
I think he has.
You're the Superman guy.
Doomsday was, in my opinion, an extraordinary villain, and we've covered this on another podcast.
Yeah.
But he's actually, I just don't think they should have killed him.
Right.
He should just be one of those villains that's just out there.
Yeah.
And this threat that's looming, and they could come back at any time and pose. And I would say that Superman's scouring for him. He's using his vision to try to find him. He just can't find him. And
Right.
Say maybe Lex Luthor has him in his underground dungeon covered with lead and
Right.
doing research. You could go so many ways with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's probably one of my when I really got into Superman was with comic book wise was when they killed him, the death of Superman, the Doomsday.
That was when
And the storyline, I mean, they not drug it, but I mean, they carried that thing for over a year because they killed Superman, and then you had the 4 characters that popped up, and it was who's the real Superman? You know, is it the Cyborg? Is it the and at that point,
Superboy, Eradicator.
Yep.
That and they kept that, and we got 4 new great characters from that story.
Yeah.
And
at that point, that book was weekly. Well, they had 4 different Superman titles, so they just named all the books Superboy, Man of Steel, whatever.
I have all
and it
4
was
of them.
it was like a year-long storyline,
For each
until
character.
Superman came back, and then it was. And Superman, I guess it's with every superhero in comic books that have had a continuity like him, like Batman, Spider-Man, anything. You just have to change it up so much.
Yeah.
I mean, and some people are going to like certain incarnations, and some people aren't going to like certain incarnations. And
you can't please everyone.
But it was funny when he asked you who survived, and you're like, well, what is it? Talking movies? You talking comics?
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's what I mean.
with the
Different
history-
points. Different
yeah, with the
narratives on the
history
same character. Yeah, it's just
that
so
character has.
But
it's
technically, you would have all
insane.
the prisoners from the
Right, you'd have
no
Zod,
zone.
The negatives. Yeah, that's actually
That would have.
and that would even play into the movie
well.
too with
The first-
with the Superman movie was
Yeah,
Zod.
the Phantom Zone.
Which
That's
was a good
actually.
movie.
Well, and the old Christopher Reeves had Zod
Right,
and
the
his whole
second
crew.
one.
Yeah.
The second one.
Well, I'm going to piggyback on that. Okay, so speaking of the movies, so let's talk about this real quick. All right, so in the first 2, if I'm not mistaken, it was directed by Richard Donner. Am I right? Mm-hmm. All right. Now, Superman 3 and 4, they were considered pretty weak. If I'm not mistaken, they were pretty weak movies. Do you feel that when Zack Snyder, what was the one, Superman Returns? Who was that?
Brandon Routh was in that one.
Brendan Ralph. Yeah, that's right.
Ratner. No,
no, it was the X-Men.
the
guy.
one that the X-Men director.
Um,
Brett. Oh, this is bad. We should have done our homework.
Brian Singer.
Brian Singer. I apologize if he hears this. Hey, I apologize. Okay, well, real quick. Okay, so we know that he turned down to keep doing X-Men to take on the Superman role.
Yes.
Okay. Kevin Spacey was a good Lex Luthor, and Gene Hackman, of course. They're both phenomenal. Now, real quick, Marquez, I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
Did Zack Snyder did a good job being in the same level of Richard Donner directing, and also with I don't even know the other 2 directors because the Superman 3 and 4, which Richard Pryor was funny in Superman 3, but to me it just seemed very weak. So do you feel that Zack Snyder did a good job bringing in Henry Cavill to play the role of Superman?
I think he's a good choice for Superman, but I don't think he's a good choice for Clark Kent. Okay, let me clarify. Here's why. Okay, physically, I think he portrays that character, Superman. I mean, he has the body, he has the look. Henry Cavill looks like a superhero, but because of that, I think he makes a terrible Clark Kent. I mean,
Yeah, Christopher Reeves didn't look like a.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a big guy, but he didn't.
it's
look,
not enough to just look like a reporter. You have to act the part. Christopher Reeves, Clark Kent, he acted the part. He was frail, he was weak, he was unsure of himself.
Right.
He was submissive, doting, and constantly chasing Lois Lane. But Henry Cavill's Clark Kent, his demeanor was the same. I mean, he didn't change anything other than
That's
the
also
glasses.
acting.
So yeah, and you think about what he had to work with. I mean, we already had this expectation of Superman. We had this idea of what Superman was gonna do, and it's hard to top that. You know what I mean? I mean, with a character that's never been on the big screen, there's no expectations there.
Sure.
That's why I think Aquaman and Shazam and Wonder Woman did so well, because they've never been in movies. Because we have no expectations. We're just going in.
We're like, oh,
Okay,
this
is new.
great.
If you go to a Batman movie, you know what to expect. go to.
And
a
you're already
Spider-Man movie,
comparing
you know.
it to Michael Keaton and
Yeah, you
Val Kilmer,
have this
George
in your
Clooney.
mind, and like he said, if you just have to detach and say
Sure.
let this stand or fall on its own merits. I don't think people do that.
So to wrap up for Superman,
Okay.
Chris, and then I'm gonna hand this to
Thanks
Marquez.
so much.
Yeah, it's just a lot of information. But okay, what is going to be the future for Henry Cavill for Superman? Is he still going to be playing Superman, or what? Do you know anything that's going on about that?
I mean, I think we discussed this a little bit with the discontinuity of DC's cinematic universe. I don't know that they know. I mean, maybe.
I hope so.
Okay, how about you?
As far as the movies?
Yes, the movies.
I thought that Henry Cavill had said he wasn't doing Superman anymore. I thought that's what I had heard. But like I said, I live in an entertainment bubble, so
Enough
that could've been-
zeros. Enough.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
you know,
Like I said, I don't even know. I mean, I know they have an Aquaman 2 coming. They have a Wonder
Yeah.
Woman 1984. Have they even announced a Justice League 2 movie? I mean,
Not yet.
no.
So, I
Not
mean,
yet. Because we know that Batman is going to get his movie.
Well,
So
but
it's
they
the-
just changed Ben Affleck out of that role.
Yeah, they put in.
They
what's
put
it,
in
Patterson?
sparkly vampire guy.
yes.
He'll have a tan on him this
It's
time.
the sparkly Batman. Yeah.
All right. Well. All right. So we'll.
Thought they did that
we'll
with Clooney.
so congrats to Superman for making it for Hero of the Month. So let's switch over to the Marvel side. So we got X-Men. So now X-Men, they have
I wish
multiple.
we had that theme song from the
Oh, yeah, the 90s.
Yeah,
cartoon.
that
That
was
was
good.
such a great.
Yeah.
So congrats to X-Men. So Brent, who was your favorite X-Men growing up?
Oh, Wolverine. I mean, come on. You got
Yeah.
sharp things coming out of your hands. I wasn't like a big X-Men guy, so my knowledge of it isn't in depth, but, that was always my guy, especially in the video games.
Oh, the video games is good.
Awesome.
Marquez?
Oh man, there's so many. I'd have to say Wolverine, but honorable mentions Beast. I think Beast is a very he's a very powerful, just often overlooked character.
true.
I mean, just his abilities. But Wolverine, just the healing factor and have a weapon that handy that you don't have to reach for. It's inside of you.
How about you, Chris?
I really liked Gambit.
Yeah.
I'll share. I hope he gets some love in some movies. I thought they were going to add him in one of the more recent ones, but he hasn't gotten a whole lot of love yet. But
No.
such a deep character with his Louisiana backstories.
Yeah, the
and
Cajun, the raging
Cajun and his poker and all his misdealings. Kind of that darker. I don't know. I go for the
Story arc,
darker
yeah.
superheroes, but
How about you?
Wolverine, hands down. I mean, yeah, when I was a kid, when I first got my first X-Men comic, I mean, that was Wolverine on the cover. And I mean, once you start reading the comics, I mean, you didn't know who he was. He didn't know who he was. The whole mystery surrounding Wolverine, like just trying to figure out, who he is, where he came from, why he is the way he is.
Yeah, and that's
How did he get his medal? How did he get his claws,
And that's the thing about that is that me personally, I've always been fascinated with origin stories. Just what makes the character how he is, where did he or she come from, how do they think, what happened from then to now. That's such a compelling
just
story.
don't go with the actual Wolverine origins.
No, not the
Because that
movie.
was
Are you talking the movie? Yeah, no.
But if you remember,
his actual
I mean,
origins.
okay, because like when you think of the X-Men, who do you think of? Wolverine. You don't think of
Right.
Cyclops or Xavier
Professor
or
X.
anything. Well,
Yeah, Professor
okay,
X.
it's
who I
his
think of.
group, but they said arguably if it wasn't for Wolverine, the comic book would have withered up and just went away.
Yeah.
Because the original X-Men, Wolverine
well,
was
and
not
he
one
has
of the original.
so much
X-Men.
attitude.
That, and I think he gives he's that rebellious side of him. It just
But
makes us
everyone wants to
happy.
be his friend. Everyone wants
Yeah.
to be follow like.
Yeah, it
You're
was a
a cool
writer.
dude. I want to hang out with you.
Cyclops doesn't want to be his friend.
No, Cyclops is the Boy Scout. That's why him and Wolverine work so
Right.
well together from a narrative point of view. I think when they first debuted the X-Men, it wasn't it was a writer named Chris Claremont that put Wolverine in the team. He wanted 3 new characters. He wanted Storm,
Right.
Colossus, and Wolverine.
Yeah,
And
that was
completely revamped it.
Yeah, that was the new X-Men in 90,
exactly.
Giant Size X-Men, and
Yeah.
then 95.
And it took off.
They brought in Colossus, Nightcrawler. I mean, that's the core team right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my X-Men,
Yeah.
The Colossus, the Storm, Kitty Pryde.
Yeah,
came in later.
Shadowcat.
Shadowcat.
She was awesome. I always liked the idea of Shadowcat, but they never, because the original X-Men, it was Cyclops, Marvel Girl, which
Iceman.
was Jean, Iceman, Beast, and Angel. And Iceman was a snowman.
Right, yeah.
Pretty cheesy looking.
Yeah, they've come a long way.
A long way.
I always like the X-Men because they're, so many individual people, but for the most part, they all have basically one gift.
Yeah.
Or one ability, and usually it's the teamwork aspect. It's kind of that cohesiveness, even though you don't necessarily get along like Cyclops and Wolverine outside of it. But hey, we'll work together, be the bad guy.
Yeah, on my end, I remember my brother and my sister and I, when we would, watch it on Fox 10. I remember the song theme, and watching them go. And I remember when I saw one of my favorite episodes is when I saw Colossus the first time. That was awesome. And I like Nightcrawler. If I'm not mistaken, my brother likes Jean Grey and Storm. I believe that. So I don't know yet. So he'll tell me later on. But let's switch over to the villain side. So let's stick with Marvel, Juggernaut. So I'm going to give this over back to Marquez. Marquez, who is Juggernaut?
Juggernaut, his real name is Kane Marco. He's 900 pounds, super strength, invulnerability, and he has a kinetic energy. While he's moving, his body emits, it absorbs and releases kinetic energy. It's like you can't stop him from moving, hence the term Juggernaut. I remember when I first saw Juggernaut in the comic book, I think it was Thor. He was fighting Thor. And at that time, I never knew what the word Juggernaut meant, and I looked it up, and just the definition of it, it's any unstoppable force that advances relentlessly and destroys everything in its path. And I remember I actually learned something from that, I thought I've never heard of that, But
I feel like I saw him fight. He's just fought everybody.
Yeah, Juggernaut's been around.
He's fought the Hulk. Wolverine countless amounts of times. The X-Men.
I got the comic book where he fought the Hulk and he put the pound on Hulk.
Yeah, he actually did. Hulk eventually beat him, but I think he did. Yeah, he was just, because of that whole kinetic energy thing while he's moving forward.
So to the audience, because I know we have the comic books and the movies. So in the comic books, isn't he related to Professor X?
Yeah, he's his stepbrother.
Okay.
And his father married Professor X's father for her mother for her wealth, and that's why he actually hates his stepbrother because he found out he was a mutant. Juggernaut is not actually a mutant. His powers he gets him from a gem, the gem of Sidorak. Sidorak is like a dimensional deity that endows his faithful with his powers if you become his avatar, an avatar of destruction. So
did not know that.
Yeah, I did not know that. All right. Well, I remember in the introduction in the TV series, I remember when Wolverine, because they destroyed the mansion and they thought it was Colossus that did it and he was getting attacked.
Yeah.
And so they found out, it was Juggernaut that did it. And just watching everyone work together, Rogue, Gambit, watching Wolverine, Colossus, and Jubilee, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Jubilee.
Pull a picture of her.
Everyone trying to attack Juggernaut, and he's just beating him. But real quick, do you believe that they gave him justice in the last end? Because I thought he was kind of pitiful in the last end, but he did phenomenal in Deadpool.
Yes, I loved him in Deadpool.
Yeah,
that was
good.
perfect.
So
Ryan Reynolds did the voice of Juggernaut.
really?
Yes, he did.
Really?
And I love Juggernaut's theme song, and that's my ringtone, by the way.
So overall, and we're going to wrap him up. So
We
do
gotta
you believe that Juggernaut is one of the top villains against X-Men, or he's just
easily.
an elite?
He's just
Easily.
an elite villain in the Marvel universe, I think. I mean,
Him, Apocalypse.
yeah, he pops up whooping up on people all the time.
Yeah, Juggernaut's he's one of my favorite Marvel villains.
All right. Well, hey, congrats, Juggernaut, for making it. Okay, so let's switch over to DC. The last but not least, Catwoman. Catwoman made it. Right. Well, Dom, I'm going to ask you, what do we know about Catwoman?
Well, she goes back a long time too, almost like she's been around forever. But she's basically a cat burglar, a thief. I guess if you go off of the Batman, the second movie, her origin story, you know, she has cats, and she gets thrown out of a building, and then she comes back, and she goes kind of crazy. But Michelle Pfeiffer, but yeah, she started out as a jewel thief, I think, in the early Batman comic books, and then I don't know if there's always been, but there's been a play between her and Batman, where Batman loves her, but she's a villain and he's a good guy. So there's that. They both kind of walk that fine line. Well, he walks that fine line, I guess. But I know she's been within the last year or two with the revamp of the new Batman. She's been really involved with that. In fact, they were going to have the wedding. They were going to get married, and they had a big lead up to that. Was that last year? Maybe, I think, in the Batman comic by Tom King. But
I believe so.
But yeah, she's just a bad guy stealing, but she loves animals. Even in the Batman animated series, I think sometimes she would even steal money and then donate to wildlife preserves and things like that. So, but cat burglar, Catwoman, villain of Batman.
How about you, Brent?
I mean, Don said a lot there. I mean, you gotta look at the movie too. Who played her? I mean,
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer, and then
don't say Halle Berry.
Dude,
Well, I'm not saying the movie was good, but she's
she
nice
was
looking.
good.
Did anybody here ever see that movie?
I did.
I'm going to tell you that I've seen it.
Times.
I've never even seen it.
Not for the story.
Not for the story at all.
Marquez, what can you elaborate a little bit on Catwoman?
See, Catwoman has always, for me, been one of those villains that, she always jump on either side. She's a hero, she's a thief.
That's true.
She's Batman's mistress. She's getting marrying Batman. I kind of get the feeling that you can't really nail her down on one side or the other. But I think when she was a villain, purely from just that perspective, she did what no other villain could do, which is basically capture Batman's heart. She actually, she's a thief, and she stole his heart. I guess
You stole my heart. How about Chris?
Yeah, I'm still infatuated with the Michelle Pfeiffer Batwoman from back in the day. She's my top one, but it's been a great character played by a lot of great different women. But I think that she does, like Don, you were saying, there's that back and forth between them. I think that they're really, I think she does have feelings for Batman, and I don't know if it's, that she just struggles with that. Well, I don't want to commit, or I've still got to this, or there's always this, Joker has this on me, or, I've got to do this for him, but he doesn't know. But yeah, she's just been a really good one. I mean, great character, because of that back and forth, you never know. You're like, oh, great, she's finally being good. No, she's not. Dang it.
That's right.
Or, oh, well, there she is being bad again. No, look, she's still got the heart of gold really deep down. So I think that's a good one for writing, because you can really play with her narrative as far as where she's going, and I'm sure they're gonna work that into a lot more different things.
Oh, absolutely.
But our real big guest here this week, we're going to get a little bit more information from, is Don, and he's with Air Capital Comic Con, which hits here November 16th and 17th, right? Are you guys doing stuff on that Friday, or just the Saturday and Sunday?
The convention official is Saturday
and Sunday.
Yeah.
And I know I've got tickets for it, VIP, because they come with all kinds of. You want to talk a little bit about the different tickets and?
Yeah. So I did.
Because the day passes, and if you got kids, man, it's great for kids, because 12 and under are free, right?
I believe so, yeah.
If I remember off.
Awesome.
But yeah, the hours of the show are. Go ahead and. So I'll get to these. I thought maybe we were video, but
That's
anyway.
okay.
Sorry.
Can I open this?
Yeah, open
Okay.
it up. So yeah, the hours of the show are Saturday 10 to 6, and then Sunday is 10 to 5. It is a very family-friendly show.
I'm taking my kids.
We'll have
Awesome, okay.
we'll have a lot of comic book writers, a lot of comic book artists, We're gonna have some local authors, so you can get your books.
Awesome.
A lot of vendors. There'll be a lot of comic book vendors. There'll be a lot of arts and crafts stuff. Not arts and crafts stuff, but like woodworking, wood plaques, signs. Toys. There's going to be toys out to crazy. Action figures, pops.
One of my favorite things is that the actual artists are there,
Right.
signing stuff.
Yep.
I mean, you get real artwork, creative stuff. It's not. I mean, you do have vendors that are hawking others'
Yeah.
wares. A lot of stuff though that people like me, the collectors, are looking for in that stuff. But I think the fantastic part is the artists and all that creation that you're talking about.
Right. And me and my brother, when we started the show, we really wanted to focus on artists and creators. We wanted to do like almost kind of an old school comic book show, I know, and it's all fine and good, and everybody loves all this stuff, but conventions have gotten so so Hollywood heavy with
Yes.
guests, and autographs are expensive, but it is cool. You get to meet your people that you
Well,
like.
you guys have
people that
done
you
some
see.
guests in the past.
We've
and
not done any media guests.
No?
We've never
guess so.
had media
Okay.
guests. But like I said, we like to spend our guest money on
on the
comic book
artists.
creators. But yeah,
Awesome.
so the tickets are, I believe, they're $10 for Saturday, they're $10 for Sunday, or you can get a weekend VIP pass, which is $15, which will get you in both days of the show, and you get some swag, which I've kind of passed out every year. Well, not every year, but for a while now, we've been doing VIP badges, which you have in your hand. This year we did.
Yeah, I wish you guys could see these because
Yeah.
they're just phenomenal. They're all by the artists. Some of the artists
are
that
going to be at the
there.
show, right? So we did
Awesome.
a hero.
those are awesome.
We did a hero villain theme on our badge, so it's actually a double-sided badge. So we have a hero and a villain, which is done by a different artist. So with the VIP, you get to pick one of the badges. I think there's 6 of them. And then we
Six
also,
different ones to
Yeah,
pick from,
6
yeah.
different ones, but they'll have 2 characters on them because they'll have a hero and a villain.
And it's kind of the hero and their main
Right.
main villain
Yeah, except
associated
for-
with it.
Cool.
except for
This is
except for the
cool.
Doctor Doom. I don't know.
Oh,
That was
kind
but
of
Storm-
electricity goes together. I guess. I don't know.
Well, there was an issue of Uncanny X-Men where Doctor Doom and Storm had a fight, so it was kind of an in joke.
wow.
But and then the other thing is you get a VIP badge with the artwork. You get a pack of trading cards, which we started last year.
Yeah, the
And-
trading cards are cool.
And they're
Again, by the artists.
those are
right?
again by artists that have their own local characters, like their own individual characters. They're kind of like a throwback to the old Marvel trading cards with the power bars on the back and everything.
Yeah, I see that.
And then
yeah.
they're very old school. And then also we have a local artist here in town, hit by the name of John Osborne, and he did a poster, which also it's a kind of a collage of a bunch of characters that some of the artists here will have, and then on the back it has a list of everybody who's the creator and all of those. That way, if you get a VIP and you get a poster, you can go around and find everybody and get it autographed if you're into that.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, if we can get a picture of that on the website.
But yeah, these will come. All that will come with your VIP plus the 2-day. You save $5 if you're going to be there both days.
I do it. To me, it's worth it just with all the swag that comes with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the VIP badge, all that. I mean, it's all original type artwork. You're not gonna find, which I think is really super cool.
And then we also have. We did a shirt this year, which we do a shirt maybe every other year, but but we did do a shirt. It's
Oh yeah, it's the new.
it's so the artwork was done by Buster Moody, who's an artist that will be at the show, but we kind of that character is we kind of claimed him as the Air Kappa Man.
Okay.
And this is done in the vein of the Frank Miller, The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell
So
what
it's
it
an
looks like.
homage to Frank Miller, Dark Knight,
Very
with that
cool.
character. And these shirts will be available for purchase also at the show.
Sure.
But yeah, that's kind of the sales pitch. You guys
You did a
have
good job. You convinced me. I'm going next week. So.
Yeah, probably.
Well, and there's
Definitely.
cosplay contests.
Right.
There's
We'll have-
contests.
We'll have
and
2 cosplay
shows
contests. We'll have one on Saturday, which I believe starts
Solo.
at 4 or 4:30, but it's a solo. If you do want to be involved in the costume contest, you do have to get there early and get registered at the show. We'll have a registration booth because they will shut down registration, I think, around noon-ish or so because they have to do all their prejudging and then get ready for the actual show. So don't just roll in at like 3 o'clock and hope to be involved with it is kind of a day-long process.
So on that, for the people that are coming from out of town, for our audience that are going out of town, what information can they locate that at so they can make sure that they plan this so they can be prepared? Where can they find this information at?
Oh, you can go to aircapitalcomiccon.com. We have a website. It'll have a list of all the guests. It'll also have all the stuff that we're doing, ticket information, location. It's at Century 2, downtown.
Okay.
Of Wichita, Kansas.
In Wichita, Kansas. I'm so sorry. Yes,
No, you're
Wichita,
fine.
Kansas. And there's just we'll have a stage upstairs, and we'll have performances. What do you call it? Like there'll be different groups that'll be putting on not really panels, but just there'll be stuff going on all day long upstairs. We'll have the costume contest. We'll have another one on Sunday, which is a group cosplay contest. A team. That's on Sunday, so there will be 2. There's cash prizes involved with the cosplay contest. I'm not sure what the amounts are. But yeah, there's going to be so many creative people there, so many artists, so many writers.
But I liked it. Are you guys gonna have the Resident Evil guys?
The Hive,
Umbrella.
the Umbrella Academy, they
Yeah.
will be there. We'll have the 501st will be
501st
there.
again. Yeah. They have a lot of cool things around their booths as well.
Yeah, we're going to have the Wichita Esports will be there. They'll have video games set up.
Nice.
Oh,
We'll
wow.
have a board gaming section where you can come play board games. They'll have like a library of games. What else? There's
so much to do.
There's so
there.
much to do. We're gonna have an escape room this year.
Put on by
so-
the escape room guys.
Yep, they're gonna have a mobile, almost like a trailer, like a mobile trailer inside that you can do that.
Neat.
There's another vendor. He'll have like a mini arcade. I don't know if you were there last year upstairs.
Yes, that was very cool.
But he'll probably bring a
He
few
makes
video games.
he makes his own arcade.
Yeah.
Oh,
makes-
wow.
Buy it for people to buy. I mean,
right.
they're very. But you can go and just play them. They're just.
And
ready
then
to go.
one other thing, two other things real quick. We have a kid zone, so it is very kid friendly. There's different coloring pages that they can do. It's an area set up, so if you do have small children, they can come over. Or I
Mine
love to
did that
color
last
too.
year.
Sure,
man.
me
So,
too.
I mean, I may be over there, but no, we have a dedicated area for kids where there'll be activities, and then they're also going to one of the Kelly Carson, I believe. He's going to do a drawing class.
Oh,
Once
that's awesome.
each day, I think around 3 o'clock in the afternoon over in the Kid Zone area. And then also one of the things that I really, really enjoy about the show that I don't know that everybody knows about is we do an art auction. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen that, but we have a lot of the artists that are at the show. They will do either sketch covers or just a piece of artwork. So it's an original piece of artwork. And we have a silent auction on both days, on Saturday and
Very
Sunday.
cool.
Up right when you come in by the headquarters, we'll have it all there. And it's a really cool way to get like a really neat, piece
One of a kind.
one of a kind. I mean, it's an original sketch. So we do
Not
that
framed.
art auction, and then we donate all of the money that we generate. We donate it to the Down Syndrome Society of Wichita.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So definitely everybody check out the art auction. You can get some really cool artwork if you're into that. And then also the artists themselves. I mean, a lot of people will sell prints and stuff, but if you're not into original artwork, you can get commissions, you can get sketches really cheap. I mean, for the price of a print, you can usually get one of the artists just to draw a Superman for you or whatever, on a piece of paper, or a Batman or whatever. So
And it'll be good.
Yeah, it'll be good. So anyway, yeah,
so
just
good over
come
there.
out and enjoy everything. I mean, it's gonna be great. There's just so much. And if you're into toys, if you're into comics, if you're into movies, I mean, whatever you're into.
Say
like,
hi
it's
to
there.
us while we're walking around there too.
Well, Don, thank you so much for coming on the
thanks,
show.
Don.
Thanks, man.
So tune into that, you guys. Next week at our hometown, Wichita, Kansas, there will be Air Capital Comic Con 2019. So thank you, Don, for your time. I do appreciate it. Well, one more thing before we go. Be prepared. Next month, we will do a special edition of Star Wars. So for all my Star Wars fans out there, this is it. You're going to be your exclusive show. So be prepared for that. Well, other than that, you guys, you got anything to say, Chris, before we go?
Just shout out to some of my friends, my band partner Sheila and her family, and my boy Tim B. He listens and supports, so I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Brent?
I want to say thanks again to Don for coming out, and make sure you go check out the Comic-Con next weekend.
Most certainly.
Yeah.
Don?
I just want to say thank you guys, for having me on. It's been a blast. I've enjoyed the conversation and letting me talk about the show.
Thank you, Don. And I want to say thank you again, Don, for coming. I do truly appreciate it. Thank you, Brent, for coming in, of course. And the crew. I also want to say thank you to my brother and my sister for us growing up watching the shows and being hooked on superhero stuff. Also want to thank Sonia, my friend. Thank you so much for helping me out work through this. And I'm just a student learning. Thank God, of course. And I also want to thank Kat. Thank you for being a part of this. And, hey, be ready for Star Wars. Other than that, thank you, guys. We're out.
Hey.
Howdy.
Awesome. 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 Awesome.